Welcome to another episode of the Impro Pod podcast. My guest today is Pete A. Turner, who's a podcaster, producer, and former spy. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, man. I appreciate being on. I know what it takes to do these things.
So could you introduce yourself a bit?
I'm Pete A. Turner. I'm a producer. I make things like movies and podcasts. I host stuff. My podcast is probably the most notable thing. I've done about 2,000 episodes. I've been at this for over 10 years now. I used to be a spy. I worked in places like Afghanistan, Bosnia, Iraq, Egypt, and done a lot of work overseas in that regard, which often puts me in crazy places like Vienna or whatever, and I find myself talking to billionaires and they're asking me my advice on things. It's kind of crazy. So I've had a pretty interesting life, a lot of danger, but also a lot of excitement and a lot of joy. And I'm very fortunate that my show, the Break It Down Show, has brought me even more of all of those good things. I love music. It's a big inspiration in my life, and it goes across all genres. I can't talk enough about music.
Do you miss your spying days?
Yeah, I don't miss the danger. I don't miss the grinding hard work, missing out on life. So a lot of it I don't miss because I get to do very similar things. And because a lot of the producing world is very similar to spying, they overlap quite a lot. So I miss elements of it, but I think I've curated a pretty good life that gives me a lot of those things without all the intrigue and the risk.
And when you say it's similar, how do you mean?
My kind of spying, I would leave the American camp or whatever coalition camp that I was on it. I would go talk to the locals so I could understand who they are, what they needed, and try to find out what the risk was. Podcast, the same thing. I meet people, I talk to them, I bring them on my show, we discuss life, and I try to translate what they experience to the greater world.
I'm going to play you a piece of improvised music, and I'd like you to tell me what it makes you think of. So that's anything that comes into your mind, any kind of thoughts, ideas, emotions, and don't analyze it too much. All right, here we go.
The big bass notes that kind of set the tone early on. I thought about bridges, actual physical bridges. A certain part of it sounded like early 90s U2 type things, that openness, the bigness. And then when you transition into the last part with more of the chords driving things, I just thought it changed the vibe in a way that was still big, but maybe a tiny bit more positive than the middle section.
And so you guys started off in that kind of A major, quite solid thing. Like. Also fifths, sort of quite wide chords.
Yeah.
And then you almost went a bit classical.
Yeah.
At the end is a change the vibe. Now, but flowing arpeggio sort of stuff.
You definitely went back in time in terms of the notes that you were picking out. I'm like, oh, this is a lot more classical. It's exactly what I thought. Was he's transitioned into this different thing as you improvised. It was great.
Thank you. So I'd like you to tell me a story of some kind, and then I'll break the story down into sections and improvise a soundtrack to the story.
Oh yeah, I got one for you. I was in Iraq. And one of the problems is we didn't know who was the good guys, bad guys. Uniforms didn't mean anything, right? And so there was a lot of checkpoints that were going on, and the Iraqis were checking the other Iraqis, And if the checkpoint was a criminal based one, then they might just cut those Iraqis' heads off. So they were hiding IDs under the soles of their shoes, so like in within the construction of their shoe, they would put a cavity in there and hide their ID so that nobody could know if they were Sunni, if they were Shia. And so they had to obscure who they were. So one of our tasks was to figure that out, make those things stop. And we were on the road and we came across the checkpoint. We didn't know if it was a good one or a bad one. And boy, oh boy, it was tense. And our interpreter got out and he's very skilled. But as as he was negotiating, my partner who was sitting behind me and I in our car both had our weapons off safe, had pulled the slack in on our triggers, and were waiting to see if we were going to get into a gunfight. And thankfully, Johnny Walker, who's our interpreter, his name's Riyadh, he was able to negotiate it so well that they were like, "These are dignitaries," and so it was tense. The possibility of a gunfight happening and us dying right there was not a chance I would want to take again. It was so dangerous in that moment. It was terrifying. And shooting Johnny might have been part of our escape because he was directly in front of me. And I would have done my best not to shoot him. But you get into a gunfight, people die. And I had to accept before I did anything else that I might have to shoot him as part of our survival in the car. And that is a terrifying thought.
You realize the skill of the negotiator, right?
And he didn't realize he was negotiating with his life too, because again, if I had to, I would have shot him as part of shooting everybody else. Because the one advantage we had was surprise. This doesn't make sense in the real world, but I'm like, I'm going to need to shoot first if we want to get out of this thing. And I'm trying to read without understanding enough Arabic and without understanding what their hand gestures meant, where we were going. And at one point, it's like, okay, we can calm down a little bit, but you're still on the razor's edge. You're still waiting. And if this thing turns, well, then we had to be first to shoot. Thankfully, didn't go that way.
And this is in the middle of the desert.
Yeah, it's in a hilly terrain with some vegetation, but yeah, it's all desert around there. Low-lying scrub kind of terrain.
So I'm going to try and get a sense of this terrain, this real tension that builds up, and this negotiation, and then this possibility that you might have to shoot this guy who's on your side to get out of it. Yeah. Okay. How was that? Yeah. Real kind of theme music's coming through at the moment. I'm imagining it almost as a film. That's grounded notes, but then you've got a lot of other tense stuff going on over the top. So,
yeah.
It's almost A major, but it's a sharp 5.
If I was producing this, right, and I wanted to give you a suggestion, you know the song "Man-Eater" from Hall & Oates? It goes dun 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 dun, dun, and then it's like "Man-Eater," that kind of thing, right? It's about a woman and it's dangerous, right? So at one point in that song, Daryl Hall, who plays it, holds a note through 2/3 of the song, never lets up. And so it just adds this like very uncomfortable tension. And this song is it's just one, and it's keyboards that just maintains it. But maybe there's a way to add that single note that's going up in tension. Ding, 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 ding. Just creating some kind of uncertainty because we were really both of us, my buddy in the back and myself, we were on the edge, and I need something in there to make that edge, to make the person listening just be really uncomfortable with where they're at as they endure this music, to get the impression of how crazy dangerous this moment was, and how seconds were so long, but so intense.
And so you felt the last piece didn't quite get the
I think there's more edge there.
edge there.
Yeah, because it was beautiful, and I want a little more terror in that beauty. Just like there's something there that's just clawing at you, and that's what I'm thinking about. That one single note just repeating at some different pace or whatever. That's almost secondary to the rest of it. It's just that underlying thing.
I'll go for another take then.
Man, that was so good. So the note that you were using, right, and you moved it a little bit. You kind of fence posted it along, because I'm like, sometimes it was right where I expected it to be, and other times you held it back or pushed it forward. That is exactly what I was kind of getting after, and I thought you did a great job with that.
Yeah, thanks. Because that was the note you sung when you were describing it with that D flat. And then I was sort of finding a key that didn't quite work with it. So I started off exploring different keys, and a lot of them quite work. We've got quite nice B major.
It makes me physically respond, like my body moves when you hit that note. It's shit. It's like a brick in the face, It's great.
And then I kind of settled on this A minor thing with A minor arpeggio kind of. And so A minor with the D flat really creates this mix of minor and major, which is quite unsettling, isn't it? And then really trying to build it up. But it's interesting using one note like that and then playing around with the harmonic relationship of just that one note and how it relates to the other notes.
Once you hear that note in Maneater, that's like you go listen. Everybody should go listen to Maneater, and once you hear that note, you're never going to unhear it. It's always going to be there, and it's going to change the nature of that song and do what you just did. But there's design in that. I don't know. I don't know why they made that choice, but it was such a great because it's so uncomfortable in that. So you're like, when is it going to let up? Because it never resolves.
It never resolves, not even at the end of the song. And so, what's your relationship with music, especially in your spy days? Did music play a role for you?
Yeah, I mean, when you're in an emotional, dangerous place like that, music for me takes a primary role. My head is going 1,000 miles an hour. There's too many things to pay attention to, and I have to stay alive by paying attention to everything. So it's just overwhelming. And music, particularly lyrics, would take me away because if I'm focusing on the lyric, I really can't focus on the other stuff that my brain is trying to feed me. So music for sure was very valuable. So my relationship with music is that I am aware of a lot of theory. I can explain things that are grounded in theory because I've learned from my dad, listening to him, watching him, whatever it is. But also Dr. Greenberg, who was an amazing speaker about music, the historian part, the mechanics of things, and so I've got a pretty developed ear and sense of music because of this exposure. My favorite instrument in all of the symphony world is the pipe organ. It's just like this 800-pound gorilla playing with flutes, and just everything else. And I just love how massive and powerful it is.
And so you'd said your dad was he was a pipe organist, was he?
Yeah, he played organ, he played pipe organ, he played piano, he played accordion a little bit, he could play tuba. He would say he was educated in sacred music because it was all about church and everything else for him. We had a full organ in our house. I mean, like a church-sized organ. It was a con, and boy, it was the loudest thing in the neighborhood. You couldn't touch it. He could play. You'd be 5 houses away, and you could hear him playing that thing if he really, pulled the stops out.
That's amazing. So everything would kind of vibrate, I guess.
Oh yeah, everything. When he really got that bass speaker cooking, yeah, it was great. And then every now and then I'd sit down when he wasn't home, and I would play it a little bit. I would get in trouble if he ever caught me, probably punished physically.
So you weren't allowed to play it.
That's right. Yeah, wasn't allowed to play it, and he wouldn't take the time to have me play it because he had no patience for these things. Yeah, we had a piano in the house too, so we had a lot of instruments. I played all of them, even though I wasn't supposed to.
You talked before about your relationship with lyrics, particularly within your like spying days. Um, was there any particular songs that really stood out for you, or particular lyrics?
A lot of it for me was U2 at that time. The music at that time spoke to me. Bono has a way of being about 5 years ahead of me in life. And so he's sort of my big brother, and he teaches me about things through his lyrics, and I value that. When you walk into an Afghan valley, it's like an amphitheater. Music informs a lot of how I see the world. And if I had the ability to translate what's in my head out into sound, I would.
It's funny how you say that Bono is a bit like a brother to you, because I used to be in a band with Bono's brother,
Oh, no shit. That's great.
but I didn't realize this until quite a while later because he kind of kept it on the lowdown.
Sure. Yeah. Going through struggles with his dad. I struggled with my dad. My dad had a love of music. His dad had a love of music. And so there's just all these similarities. And as he's sorting out his feelings, it was sort of a template for me to kind of sort them out.
So what did you get out of this podcast?
I got to talk about music in a way that I never get to talk about. My musical thoughts are so uninteresting to everybody else, because I'm thinking deeply about some of these things. And so the chance to get a chance to explore this stuff really for me is a delight. I have really enjoyed just kind of getting into this and playing with music because there's so much more there. I find that when you dig into music like we've done here today, it'll change my mood the entire day today. And I'm going to go listen to music I probably wouldn't have listened to otherwise and really just be thrilled by it. So thank you for that. And I really have enjoyed this.
Great. And so tell me a bit about your podcast. What sort of guests do you get on? Is there a theme to it?
No theme. It's life. Doesn't have a theme. You grab people that are interesting. Like I would hope that you would come on my show and we'll talk about music. Maybe we'll get Dr. Bob to join us. But the ability to meet all these people and engage with them and hear what they think and disagree with them or agree. And my show isn't about tension in terms of negativity, but I might bring in like a third guest or a second host, I should say, to create a positive tension, to pull away from what I might ask and ask maybe a different question, kind of that ding 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 person on the piano, and you're like, oh yeah, that's a great question. Let's go down that road. So I love to do stuff like that. I love to get in my car and go to someone's house. I love to experience people in real time, and folks tend to resonate with that. Is every episode for everybody? No, but but that's life, you know. And so sometimes we're talking about music, sometimes we're talking about math. It can be anything. I love being able to sort of survey life.
And what's the name of the podcast?
The Break It Down Show.
The Break It Down Show.
Yeah, a little musical, right?
That's available on Spotify and other platforms.
Yeah, primarily YouTube. I don't publish to the traditional podcast platforms anymore because there's not a lot of value in that for me. So X, Facebook, Instagram, you'll find it those places. But primarily, I want you to go to YouTube. Just type in P. Day Turner on YouTube and you'll get it. But there's all kinds of incredible stuff. I've talked to some amazing musicians. My musicians have sold over 1.5 billion records. I've had some really gigantic musicians on my show.
Oh, wow. Can you name one or two?
Sure. Yeah. Susie Quattro has been on my show. Sly Stone has been on my show. Andy Summers on my show. There's a guy named Dave Auday. He does all of the great remixes for all of the great acts. And he has like 140 number one dance track songs. I mean, it's amazing the people you get to meet. All kinds of Dr. Bob Greenberg, who was a wonderful person, now a wonderful friend as well. So lots of incredible people that have made a lot of incredible music.
I'd love to come on your show one day and we can do a bit more of this and play some piano and talk about things. Would I have to put any kind of prep beforehand?
You're already prepped. You're Luke. You know how to play the piano. Yeah, I'm glad to have that exchange with you.
Thank you very much. Just remind me your name of the podcast again.
My show is called The Break It Down Show, everybody.
You can check out the Break It Down Show on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Yeah, thank you very much. It's been very insightful. Join us again for another episode of Impro Pod. Thanks for listening.